Hello! Today's stories come from r/ProRevenge. I've got two stories. First up, you're replaceable. Okay, bye. I worked for a company for just under 5 years. The company I work for existed for an additional 10 years prior to me. While I worked at this company, it ballooned to be the #1 provider in the region for its unique service with about 75% of the market. It was a small business of about 15 employees. I loved my job, and the skills I learned while working there were quite valuable. I loved my team and the clients we provided services for. My twice-yearly reviews with the owner were always 10 out of 10 with no recommendations for improvement. I was exceptional at my job in every way. I handled company operations, HR and payroll, customer service, marketing, employee management, schedules, employee and client training, and many other things at this company. I was also able to step in and do any of my teammates' jobs if they were out sick or on vacation. The owner of the company was giving out a bonus late summer last year, and mine, while being more than previous years, was notably less than my teammates. I asked owner, "Are the bonuses related to performance? And if so, what could I have done to earn more?" Owner replied, "The bonuses are not performance related. You were just more replaceable than the others." "Oh, okay," I replied, and I proceeded to process each of the bonuses, then went to lunch. I called my spouse to gain wisdom and advice. I was pretty lit, but didn't want to make a rash decision. My spouse is very intelligent, and while they are not a fortune teller, they have an ability to foresee various responses and all the potential outcomes. They are business-wise and have been on the executive team of a large company for the past 21 years while also serving on several community boards and business advisory boards. We decided together to continue forward with our scheduled vacation and use the time away to calm our minds, relax, have fun, and to also determine the best course of action for me. We were leaving after working one more day, so I worked like all was normal the rest of the day and the following day, then left on vacation. While away, we discussed several scenarios, the potential outcomes, consulted with a business advisor and a business attorney. With all the advice I received, I determined that upon my return from vacation, I would resign from my role with a 2-week notice. However, in a fit of rage, I was immediately terminated by owner, which was one of the scenarios we thought would happen, so I was prepared for owner's poor reaction. During the next couple weeks, I created and opened a competing business offering similar services. However, I offered more customizable options with higher quality service and results. I knew our clients wanted these options and had proposed said options several times at Old Workplace, but was never green-lighted to implement the changes, for no reason other than owner didn't come up with the idea, so it was a stupid idea. I also maintained communications with a few people from my old team. My old team did not relay the day-to-day happenings at my previous workplace, and I never asked about the company. However, they would vent to me on occasion. I would listen without comment. I knew service, quality, and the work environment in general suffered since my departure. Morale went down, and clients were less satisfied. I also read the Google and Facebook reviews for old company. Yikes! Additionally, 2 full-time and 1 part-time persons were hired to fill my role, and a portion of my responsibilities, like HR and payroll, were filled by outside companies. I quickly built up my business, and within 3 months was able to hire several of my old teammates. They were able to jump in on day 1 with minimal training, as they were the best employees at my old workplace. The quality of previous workplaces' offerings continued to fall, which sent additional business my way and quickly caused incoming work to be non-existent at Old Workplace. My old workplace went from being the #1 provider of unique service in the region to nothing in a matter of months. My previous employer is now searching for gainful employment. I know this because over the weekend, owner applied for a position at my spouse's company. Side note, I think my spouse's company should bring my previous employer in for an interview, but when they arrive, surprise, I'm the interviewer, and all I say is, "How replaceable am I now?" My spouse, rightfully so, has said no. Moral of the story, don't tell your employees they are replaceable because they might create a competing business that is better than yours, while taking your best employees and your clients, which will leave you with no business to sell. Owner's whole retirement plan was to sell business, and starting all over by searching for employment under someone else. Looks like your company was replaceable, not me. I'm not sure the moral of the story is as easily applied as OP thinks it is. Most people either feel they're stuck or get screwed over and simply try to find a new job. I think this outcome is anomalous, but amazing nonetheless. OP made good use of spouse's advice and the resources available to them to truly turn things around in their favor. Likely the same skills and characteristics that weren't appreciated by owner in the first place. As they say, the best revenge is living well. My second story is how Mrs. Reliable got her D-bag of a boss fired. Hey everyone, longtime lurker on this subreddit, first time posting, and boy do I have a story. So, letting everyone know that it's going to be a long post. Just letting everyone know ahead of time. Background. I've been working the retail business for over 20 years, and let me tell you, some of the managers they hire, I can do a better job. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Over the years of doing retail, I have established a reputation for myself. I'm Mrs. Reliable. Need someone to come in? They call me. Need someone to stay late? They call me. Need to switch with someone because management said no for your day off? They call me. Need to switch with someone because of a last-minute plan? They call me. You can probably see where this story might be going, right? This story takes place a couple of years ago when I worked a major grocery store in my town as a cashier. The story. This has taken place a couple of years ago back in 2020. I'm on my 2 years at this store and we went through so many people and managers it wasn't even funny. Literally, it felt like we had a revolving door with how much turnover and employment we had. Getting back to the story. I was a cashier, and the thing about me doing this job is that I have a tendency to be too good at my job. I was just hired to be a cashier. I was not a manager, nor a monitor, someone that is a step down from management but doesn't have all the responsibilities of management. Nor was I customer service. However, I was trained for nearly all the duties of someone who is. Need change? I went to cashier, got the money out of the drawer, and went to grab the change that they needed. Need an override? I come over, see what the problem is, and do the override. Need something from behind the counter? I just need to know what it is that you need, and I went and grabbed it. I did all this on top of my cashier duties and self-checkout duties. Then D-Bag came along. My manager at the time, let's call her Ashley. Ashley is the front-end manager, meaning she's in charge of everything that goes on at the registers, cash office, where all the money is, customer service, and the self-checkouts. Now, I liked Ashley. She was a really good boss, and I liked working with her. Ashley had gotten pregnant and was expecting her second child. I was so excited for her. Unfortunately, when Ashley came back, though, she was no longer going to be a manager, nor was she going to be full-time. She decided to come back as part-time. I can't really blame her, though. You're working 40 hours a week and you are not allowed any overtime whatsoever. Plus, you can be working as early as 5 a.m. to working as late as whenever the last customer decides to leave. Last time that happened when we didn't get out until 11:15. Enter D-Bag. If you ever wonder what happened to that spoiled brat in school whose mommy never said no and always got what they wanted, that's D-Bag all grown up in a manager's position. D-Bag was the type of manager that if he told you to do something, he expected you to do it without any questions. Have plans after work? D-Bag expected you to whip out your phone right there and then, cancel your plans, and come into work. Have a doctor's appointment? D-Bag expected to cancel that appointment and then come into work. If you told him no, he would say in the most condescending tone, "Well, I need you to do it anyway." And then just standing there scowling at you the whole time, basically trying to intimidate you by making you feel so uncomfortable by the staring until you cave. The setup. Now, I had my fair share of awful managers to the point where if I didn't need the money, I would have walked right out right then and there and never returned. And I had my fair share of good managers. D-Bag was somewhere in the middle, leaning more towards the walking out. Now, with me, I'll admit, over the years, I developed a sassy, sarcastic personality. I'm blunt, no filter, say what's on my mind, and I don't put up with people's BS. Apparently, D-Bag never got the memo of my not taking people's BS. Around this time, summer was ending, meaning we were in the now hiring stage, and many positions were starting to open up in the store. Keep this in mind. What D-Bag did to get me to start my ProRevenge? Strike one. I had out-of-patient vein surgery done on one of my legs and needed to take a few days off. Since I had some vacation time saved up, I used my hours for those few days that I didn't have to worry so much about not getting paid. D-Bag called me a day before I was supposed to come in, asking if I could do a 9 to 1. I asked him 3 times over the phone, who's closing, because originally I was supposed to close that day until I got my approval for my days off. D-Bag never answered me, so I just figured they had it covered. I came in, and of course, halfway through my shift, D-Bag calls me over and says that they don't have a closer. Keep in mind that I asked him 3 times over the phone who was closing. D-Bag wanted me to clock out, go home for a few hours, and then come back to work and close. I said no, and then he tried the whole guilt tripping about not having anyone and that we really need you to do this. I said no because 1, I'm really tired and just came off surgery like 3 days ago. 2, I already made plans with my husband for the evening. Of course, D-Bag didn't like this because the next time I came to work, D-Bag was just being petty and passive-aggressive with me. Basically, he will either pretend I wasn't there, ignored me, or the transaction that he was doing was taking longer than it should, and then chastise me in front of the customers for taking too long to get him. When I had my follow-up appointment with the vein doctor, D-Bag asked me if I could come in earlier. I told him no, I can't because I have a doctor's appointment in the morning that day. Then he did his usual, well, we need you to do it anyway, and started doing that stare with me. Unfortunately for him, I'm used to this when it came to Karen's and Kevin's trying to intimidate me because something didn't come right. I quickly shut that down by getting the other cashier's attention when they need help with something or quickly grabbed a customer's attention. When I came in after my appointment, D-Bag, with a smug grin very loudly in earshot of the bigwigs from corporate visiting that day, said, "Well, OP, looks like you noticed that I didn't call you in because we didn't need you." I replied, "Good, because I wasn't able to come in early anyway." Strike 2. Remember how I said that the store had openings? Well, turns out customer service needed some help, and the only way to get there was to ask your manager. So I went to D-Bag and asked about being at the customer service desk. With everything that I've already been doing, I was basically the front-end assistant manager without the pay and title. D-Bag said that he would get back to me, especially since I've been doing a great job. 2 to 3 weeks later, I'm seeing people that I trained or have started months after I did getting promoted to customer service desk, while I stayed as a cashier with all the other responsibilities piled on top. The customer service desk position would have easily been a 50-cent raise. The monitor position would have been a 75-cent raise. And of course, D-Bag didn't want to pay more for doing the exact same thing that I was already doing. I was starting to get the message of, why pay for the cow when the milk is free? Strike 3. I was starting to look for another job at this point because I was getting sick and tired of how I was being treated. But I wanted to try and give this guy one last chance. So I found out that the seafood department of my store had an opening, and I even talked to the seafood department manager, Debbie, about me possibly being in her department. He was ecstatic to have and was willing to work around my college schedule. I had to talk to my manager, D-Bag, in order to get the transfer going. I talked to D-Bag, and he started to come up with any and all kinds of excuses to not have me transfer. I quickly shot that down, and even the one where he tried to say that I can't because another coworker was transferring, first time I've heard of this, but the coworker said they had no problem with me going. So I thought that was that, right? Wrong. 3 to 4 weeks have passed, and I've been getting nowhere with the whole transferring to the other department. Even Debbie was wondering why it was taking so long for me to get to the seafood department and why management was dragging their feet with this. Turns out, D-Bag blocked my transfer, and they wound up hiring a new employee to the seafood department. D-Bag thought that if there were no positions available, he can just deny my transfer, that I have no choice but to stay. After an argument between the two of us about this, because I was calling him out on his BS, D-Bag said the magic words, "Just do your job." Cue the malicious compliance. Just do my job? Okay. I was so glad that the wearing a mask was required. Otherwise, D-Bag might have seen my evil smile when I agreed to just do my job. Need an override? Sorry, but I'm not management, nor am I a monitor, so I can't do that. Let me go grab someone who can. Need change? Sorry, but I'm not management, nor am I a monitor, so I can't do that. Let me go grab someone who can. Need something behind the customer service desk? Sorry, but I'm not trained, nor am I a customer service. Let me grab someone who can get that for you. D-Bag was at his wit's end and even tried to write up for something. I quickly shut that down when I started to recite what being a cashier entails and what my actual job of being a cashier is. And I told him that if he wants me to continue with all those other responsibilities, that he needs to promote me so I can do all those responsibilities. He quickly stepped back into being his passive-aggressive behavior that I quickly shut down. I eventually found another job with a better pay and better benefits and handed in my resignation of me leaving in 10 days. That D-bag tried to deny and say, "No, you have to give us 2 weeks' notice." I quickly shut that down with a response, "You wouldn't be giving us a 2-week notice if you're going to fire us, or lay us off, or let us go. Just a 2-minute warning." Cue the petty revenge. Now, you're probably wondering, what could I have possibly done for the petty revenge, right? Well, there was an old saying, never kill the golden goose. Well, readers, what do you think happens to a department that is solely dependable on one person whose reputation is Mrs. Reliable? Need me to come in on my day off? Sorry, I can't. I have plans. Need me to stay late? Sorry, I can't. I already made plans. Someone called out? Sorry, I can't make it. I did this throughout my entire rest of my stay at that place. D-Bag couldn't do anything about it either, and it was starting to get to him on what happens when you rely heavily on someone else, but treat them so badly that they actually decide to leave. D-Bag's performance, because I wasn't there to cover for his butt, was starting to take a toll. He had to do so much now of his own responsibilities that there wasn't a thing he could do to me. He kept trying to be extra passive-aggressive with me, to which I just smiled and waved and said goodbye to everyone but him. Now, this wouldn't be ProRevenge without the ProRevenge. After talking to a friend of mine about what happened when I worked there, he told me to report this to the district manager because that kind of behavior isn't good for the workplace. Cue the ProRevenge. I got the email address of the district manager from my friend, and then I went back to the store as a customer. I kept in touch with a couple of my old coworkers and kept asking them how they were doing and how was work going. None of them had a problem in venting to me on how bad things were getting with D-Bag. I asked if they didn't mind if I put their name in the complaint or if they just wanted to be anonymous. A lot of them chose the latter. I whipped out my phone, used the quick memo app that I had, and quickly wrote the notes in my phone, the date and the register that the cashier was on at the time. I sent that email with the attached notes and with the entire account on my part as well to the district manager. Now, this wouldn't be ProRevenge if it just stopped there. I took a step further. You see, with the receipts that we get, there is a survey on the bottom of every receipt, and management kept trying to boost us to get customers to take the survey because it helped with the storefront and all the points that the store gets. Well, here's the thing about that survey. When you fill out the survey, including the comments, everyone gets to see it. And I mean everyone. I mean everyone. D-Bag, the assistant store manager, the regional manager, the district manager, and the representative of corporate gets to see it all. So you can imagine what I did. Needed a snack for school? Filled out the survey. Needed groceries? Filled out the survey. Needed a drink? Filled out the survey. I went to that store multiple times and got so many different surveys because there wasn't a limit for how many you can fill out. And I made sure to put everything that D-Bag was doing on all those surveys, including how he treated his employees. 3 months after I left, the person they hired back in seafood to make sure I couldn't go back there quit. 6 months after I left, D-Bag was nowhere to be found. A new manager took over for him, and no one seems to know what happened to D-Bag. Edit. For those of you wondering or commenting, no, I did not stay in one place for the 20 years. I wouldn't stay working for some place only making minimum wage and no benefits. The retail business is really shady. The only raise I got was when minimum wage went up. During the outbreak, we all started making 30 cents more an hour. But when the state reopened and they announced that we'd be going back to minimum wage, more than half the staff left. The 20 years of experience is me working the retail industry with different jobs. And before anyone asks, yes, I have applied to management positions. I either get brushed off or they keep telling me because I don't have a degree, then I can't get the management position. Just wanted to clear that up. Ugh, who takes the time to fill out those post-shop surveys? I have to think it's probably pretty easy to skew results against a store or even a specific person. But OP totally used this to her advantage, and rightfully so. She was clearly a top performer and didn't even complain until her D-bag of a boss blocked every opportunity for progression. He was obviously just using her and didn't want to lose his constant go-to backup. If only management rewarded people for consistently going above and beyond. But alas, Reddit is not the place for such fairy tales. If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.